So I think we'll go ahead and get started. We can kind of bring people in as they join. But let's go ahead and we'll start with introductions. So I'm Bonnie Russell. I'm the project manager for Mesh Research and for Humanities Commons. I am a librarian. I've been at MSU since May of 2020. And I'm happy to be here today. Kelly, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I am Kelly Sattler. I am also a librarian and a project manager at MSU Libraries, and I'm also an associate director of MESH, which is the group. It's a collaboration between the libraries and the College of Arts and Letters. I've been here for 15 years. So.
Kristen?
Hi, everybody. I'm Kristen Lee. I am with Reference and Discovery Services in the MSU Libraries. We are the help desk for MSU Commons, which we'll get into. I have been with MSU now 20 years as of October 1st this month. I'm really excited about that. And I've been teaching technology classes in some capacity for almost 15 years. So I'm really excited to be part of the MSU Commons instruction team.
Okay. So just to go over what we're covering today. So we're going to do a little brief history of Mesh Research and the Commons. We're going to talk a little bit about the Commons team, and then we'll go through the various facets of the Commons. And we're going to focus on core and also MSU Commons for courses. So if you do have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. We will have time at the end for more questions and discussion as well. So Kelly, did you want to talk a little bit about Mesh Research?
Yeah, so Mesh Research, it's a unit that was formed approximately 2 years ago that is, as I mentioned, a collaboration between the College of Arts and Letters and the MSU Libraries. Its focus is on digital scholarship publishing and trying to supply that support to campus, much in the way Matrix had in the past for other digital projects. Currently, we have the main projects we're working on. Collaborative Community Review. Grant, who's in here, is the primary developer of that, and it's an open peer review system that we're building. There's Humanities Commons, MSU Commons, which you're going to learn a lot about in this session. The Domains Initiative is, I kind of briefly mentioned that with the VPN situation. Domains is a hosting platform and that Cal has, and we've taken on support of it. Humetrics, Bonnie is the primary project manager with that, and she can speak more to it than I could. Manifold Scholarship is a publishing platform that we are launching as a self-publishing for open access with a Creative Commons license that the library is primarily hosting. And then the Comic Index database is a project where we are working. I don't know how many know of it, but their libraries has had, if you go to comics.live.msu.edu, it's the Comic Index. It's our comic librarians' life work creating this index, and we're looking to move it into a database so it's a little bit easier to search and make connections within it. So.
Right. Humetrics HSS is an initiative that's headed by Dean Long and a group of scholars sort of from around the country and also Europe that is looking to create a framework for humane metrics in humanities and social science. Okay, and I did pop the Comics Index link into the chat. So the Commons has been around for quite some time. Humanities Commons was launched in December 2016 by the Modern Language Association, and it was based on their platform, MLA Commons, which was started in 2013. MSU Commons was launched in July 2020. And so Humanities Commons has become a platform. We have 6 different associations that have societal commons. So we serve societies and organizations. They include the Society of Architectural Historians and the Association of University Presses. MSU Commons is the first institutional node on the Commons. And we will be launching STEM Commons and Social Science Commons next year. So MSU Commons really is the first Commons that is meant to serve an entire university community outside of any discipline. We were funded by the Mellon Foundation, and the platform transitioned to Michigan State University in November of 2020. So we have taken full custodianship and ownership of the Commons, and we'll continue to support it through mesh research. The Commonses are sort of split between disciplinary, so humanities Commons, and then STEM and social science to follow, institutional and society. And we received word this month that we have received a $971,000 gift from the Mellon Foundation for continued development. That will allow us to become a sustainable platform and to fully develop our business model. Kristen, did you want to talk a little bit about the MSU team?
Yeah, so this is your MSU Commons team, kind of the primary folks for support. So we have Kathleen Fitzpatrick, who is the program director for MSU Commons, and then also the director of mesh research. And then you've met both Kelly and Bonnie, who are here with us. And then here I am as the help desk lead for reference and discovery services. So as I said, we are the primary kind of first point of contact for support for MSU Commons. And I'm acting as the primary liaison with folks like Bonnie and Kelly as our help desk gets into the role of providing that support. And then here are other members of my help desk team. We have 2 full-time staff in addition to myself, so 3 total. Then we have 4 people that are part-time and 1 student, and we're looking to expand our student staff in the next couple of months. And so when you do reach out for assistance from us, you'll probably interact with one of the folks here. So the first thing we're going to get into following talking about the MSU Commons team is CORE as a resource. And CORE is a repository for sharing, discovering, retrieving, and archiving your digital work, and it will provide permanent open access storage for scholarly output, which will facilitate maximum discoverability and the encouraging of peer feedback. And what's in CORE, you can put all different kinds of publications, so papers, theses, and dissertations. You can put CORE syllabi, any other type of learning materials you might create, posters, if you were going to create a poster for like a poster session for a conference, any type of video, audio content, all sorts of things. CORE has many options of types of content that you can include there. And then if we advance to the CORE guidelines, these are some of the things you need to know about CORE if it's something that you're going to think about using. It's for finished files, not files in progress. There are other areas that you can use files in progress that we'll talk about going forward, but CORE is for finished files. Each uploaded file cannot be larger than 100 megabytes. There's no limit to the number of files you can upload, but each individual file can only be 100 megabytes. The user must hold the copyright or have permission to post to an open access repository if they're going to put something in CORE. We do have links here in the PDF of the slides to the MSU CORE policy and the MSU preservation policy. So again, if CORE is something you're interested in, you might want to take a look at those. Deposits are not editable by the user after 24 hours of publication. So once you've uploaded something to CORE, after 24 hours passes, you don't have any way to do any editing to that upload. And deposits are permanent. Once you've got them up there, they're up there. If you do have a situation where you need something changed, where you discover maybe you entered the wrong date, in the metadata or something when you were uploading to CORE and that 24-hour period has passed, you can reach out to us to have us contact the administrators because someone can go in and make those kind of adjustments if they need to be, but you're not able as the end user to go back in and do any editing after that 24-hour period. Core features, Core will syndicate content with Google Scholar and other aggregators and search engines so that the content is able to be found. The DOI is automatically assigned on upload. You can assign a Creative Commons license to content that allows users to remix or reuse it if you so choose, or you can assign a license that just puts the copyright on it for you and does not allow that. And then you also have the option to embargo an upload for up to 24 months. So the upload shows up as existing. It's going to be available in the Commons once that embargo period passes, but it will show that that there is an embargo period for however much time you've set, so that a user who happens to stumble upon that particular upload will know why and why they can't access it now and when it will be available. And Bonnie, if you want to take a look at Core for us and show folks where the upload is.
Sure. So when you click on Core repository as you've logged in, the first time that you actually go to Core, you will get, when you click on the upload your work, you'll get a terms and conditions document that you should review. And then once you click through that and accept it, then you'll get the screen that I'm about to show you. So this is a new Core deposit screen. Items with an asterisk are required. So you will need to either choose published or not published. If something has been previously published and there is a DOI, you can actually look up that item and fill in the metadata. If not, title is required, item type is required. So we have things like abstract, article, chart, code or software. We do accept data sets, but I will say that we're not a data repository. So if you have a complex data set, there may be another place that would be more appropriate to put an actual data set, but we do accept data sets into the repository. We also accept video. However, the file size limit can be a barrier, and we can work with people to allow upload to get a DOI and link to a video that may be posted on Kaltura Media Space or YouTube. We have done that in the past with documentary filmmakers. Anything from a monograph, music. So you pick your item type, you will put your description or your abstract. This is where you can put a link, for example, to a video that is on another site. I have the ability, and we'll talk about this a little bit when we get to groups, of depositing on behalf of others. That's not turned on by default. So if you go into upload, you won't see this. We can turn it on for people who are submitting for others. And what you do is it will automatically put your information in, and you can choose whether you're an editor, a submitter, et cetera. And then you can choose to actually post to groups. So you can also, when you deposit, you can notify groups that a deposit has been made, and that helps kind of spread the word and disseminate the work. Subjects, you can assign up to 5 subjects. And I will say that we're transitioning from our current controlled vocabulary and subjects to fast metadata subjects. And those will allow us to have kind of a more robust subject heading group to work with STEM and social science scholars. Tags are really free form. It's a way for you to kind of further define what it is that this object is. File types, we have a number of different file types. Language, we always encourage people to put the language in. If it's English, certainly select English, but if you're depositing in Spanish or French, note the language. Again, any notes, publication type, date of creation, and then you must choose a Creative Commons license. It defaults to all rights reserved, which is asserting your copyright and does not allow people to remix and reuse. You can actually choose things like attribution no derivatives, attribution non-commercial. And so to find out more information about that, there's a link to the Creative Commons licenses in the PDF. And then if you choose to embargo something, you can actually choose up to 24 months. Anyone have any questions on that? Okay. We can also take questions at the end. So one of the things that we're debuting in this particular workshop is the MSU Commons Instructor Toolkit. So this toolkit actually gives you quite a bit of information on what the Commons is, help desk information, ways to get started. So information and tutorial videos on how to create an account, registration tips, information on groups and sites, which we'll go into a little bit. We also have syllabi language. So if you want to use MSU Commons for courses, we actually have some suggested syllabi language and instructional language that you can actually copy and paste and put into your documents. And then finally, we have resources. So we have a couple of flyers that you can distribute to your students. So we have a registration flyer and a groups flyer on how to register and how to join groups. And we have a number of tutorial videos that you can send to your students so that they know how to do that. By using groups within MSU Commons, you can actually automate author permissions to a class blog. So we do recommend that if you are using Commons for a course and you're going to be using a group blog, that even if you're not using the discussion portion of the group, a group will actually automate some permissions for you. And the Commons can really be used to augment D2L or as an alternative platform. We do have a number of people who are using it for the group blogging aspect and also encouraging students to create their own blogs for the class. So using groups. Groups is probably the thing that is most active on Humanities Commons and has really kind of become the linchpin of the entire Commons platform. Groups feature a discussion board, docs, which can be collaboratively edited. So if you're working, not even with a class, but if you're working with other scholars within MSU and you're working on a project, you can actually work on your doc within the Commons. You can upload files. So if you have files in progress that you're working on collaboratively, again, you can upload those to the group. And you can also have an event calendar. So you can put your important dates. So when a grant is due or when a publication date is happening. Group websites, again, can automatically add students in the appropriate role for group blogging when they join. And again, if you don't even intend to use the discussion board, you can actually turn that off. But it's worth creating a group for a course just for the permissions that it will automatically set for you. So group permission levels. One thing to keep in mind is that MSU Commons is restricted to MSU faculty, staff, and students. So when I say a group is public, it's public to MSU Commons users, but not the public at large. No, I take that back. It is publicly available for browsing by members of the public, but they cannot participate in any way. Private groups are listed on the website, but users must request to join. So that is many times what people use for courses. So students will request membership in the group. You will approve their membership, and then they will get automatic permissions to the group site for the blog. And hidden groups are not listed on the website, and users must be invited by administrators to join. That can be useful if you're working on a planning committee, or if you're doing work that is not ready for the public yet. You can keep that group hidden until you're ready to kind of have a wider distribution. One of the features that I just mentioned when we were looking at the core deposit form is the deposit by group functionality. Many departments and centers are now uploading on behalf of others within core. So the MSU Law Journals and the MSU Health and Risk Communication Center are both using this functionality. They have groups and are uploading their faculty documents to those groups. So if that is something that you're interested in, email hello@hcommons.org and we can set that permission up for you. You would send us the name of the group, a link to the group, and we would make the administrators of that group, give them the ability to upload on behalf of others. So I do want to take a moment and just show you groups on MSU Commons. So you find groups on the left-hand menu. And you'll see we have a number of courses that are actually using groups. They're using the websites. And then we do have a number of announcement groups. We have a Getting Started with MSU Commons group where you can come for information. And there are a number of other resources we can highlight sort of at the end. We've got the Health and Risk Communication Center. And if I click on this, you'll see they do have some core deposits here. And so you can see that when you go to a core deposit, when you associate a core deposit for a group, it will show up in that group. And you can see the DOI here. You can see the subjects. And those are useful both, again, for courses and also for working together with groups. Kristen, did you want to talk a little bit about group websites?
Sure. So one of the components of a group is to be able to have a group website. And when you're creating a group website, when you are creating the group, can be really convenient. And one of the biggest advantages to this is that groups can be used to allow users to be assigned roles within the website upon joining. So when they join the group, they automatically get assigned to the appropriate role in the group website without you having to take another step to go in and say, okay, this person needs to be assigned this role. By virtue of just becoming part of the group, that happens. And then there are things to consider when you are going to create a group website. Will you use the website only for this group section or course for the current semester? So you're only using it in fall of 2021. You're not going to reuse it anywhere else for anything else. If so, then you would create the website at the time you create the group. If you're going to reuse the website across multiple semesters, so if you are using it for a course and you teach the same course every fall and every spring, and you want to be able to reuse that same space over again, then you would want to create the website separately so that it's unconnected to the group. That way it allows it to be reused multiple times. And then if you're unsure, if you'll want a website later, you can create a group website later in the group settings. So you can start by just going ahead and creating the group, and then later you can decide, yes, I do want a site with it, and can go in and create it at that later time. Naming sites is important when you're using groups for courses. And we have a couple of examples here. If your site will be used across multiple semesters, name it only with the course information. So the example here is MSU 101 Go Green. That might translate to Spanish 101 Language Basics, or History 312 US History since 1900. Whatever your course code is, and then the actual title. But you're not naming a semester, you're not naming a section, you're only naming things that are going to be the same as the course carries across multiple semesters. If the site will be only used for one semester or one class, then you would add those additional details, such as fall 21, or in the second example there, that -001 at the end would be the section number. And then that would make it specific to just that particular offering of the course. And once you decide how you're going to name the websites that you're creating, try to be consistent if you can. If you're putting the course code first, or you're putting the course title first, or whatever order you put your elements in, try to be consistent if you can, because the consistency in the naming conventions will make it easier for students to find and access the course website, and it will help you, the more you get on the Commons, keep track of your own websites as the Commons grows.
I will say, as someone with multiple websites on the Commons, it does help to kind of have a site naming convention so that you can easily find those sites. So I would like to open it up. Does anyone have any questions on what we just presented in terms of MSU Commons for courses? Feel free to unmute and ask, or feel free to pop it in the chat. If not, we'll move on. But I just didn't want to give the opportunity for a few questions.
We had one question in the chat earlier that it took me a moment to realize had been sent directly to me and no one else could see it. And then something you said, Bonnie, triggered what the person wanted to know. And so they said, never mind. So I think we're good, but that's the only thing I see on my end that's come up in the chat so far.
Okay. Again, feel free to raise your hand, pop things in the chat as we go. This is the first time we're doing this workshop, so we're learning along with everyone else. So I'm going to talk a little bit about MSU Commons sites. The Commons is a word-based platform, as Kelly alluded to earlier, and can be used to kind of create larger, more robust sites, but also blogs. So a lot of times what people are using this for is either for a project, and I have a screenshot of Graphic Possibilities, which is a comic site that is run by Julian Chambliss and his team. And you can also create a personal blog. You can create, other kinds of things that you're interested in. Theme and plugin options are limited for security. So because we have a shared platform and so many people are using the Commons, we vet all of our themes and plugins and we limit the ones that we need to support. So for example, we have themes that include Vantage, Reykjavik, Portfolio Press, Dispatch, and 15 Zine. Plugins include Google Analytics, Comment Press, which is a plugin that actually allows you to do commenting and peer review on a manuscript. And we've had a number of people actually create OERs on the Commons, on Humanities Commons in particular, and do open peer review through the platform. We have ZotPress, which is the Zotero library plugin, Ninja Forms, and Press Forward, which is sort of a syndicating plugin. Currently, we do not support custom domains. So if you have, I have bonnierussell.com or bonnierussell.org, we don't use custom domains. So your domain would be your site name, .commons.msu.edu. But they do offer users a good way to establish a website. You don't need to know code. So it is a content management system. It uses forms to be able to allow you to enter content and to display that content. So you don't need to know HTML to use WordPress. So if you're not a coding guru, you can still have a nice looking website. And sites are versatile. We'll talk a little bit later about digital presence and digital CVs, courses we've already talked about, personal projects, or if you just want to play with WordPress and see what it can do, you can use that site for experimentation. And we see an example of a site again. This one is for the MSU School of Social Work. And so we do have people creating sort of project sites as well. If you're interested in using another content management system, like Drupal or a Mecca, MSU Domains, which we referred to earlier, is an alternative. So that's something that if you contact the folks at Domains, they can help set you up with a Drupal or a Mecca site. So really, when you're thinking about where to start, the place to start, if you've not used it before for courses, is the MSU Commons Instructor Toolkit. As I said earlier, we have syllabi language, flyers on how to join, video tutorials. We also created a downloadable PDF version of the toolkit. So you can actually download a PDF if you're more comfortable having a printed text version. But the other thing too to keep in mind is that the MSU Commons team is here. If you have specific questions about ways to structure a website or how to help students on board, we're happy to discuss that. We're happy to consult with you on how to do that. We're now in our third semester, I believe, of people using it for courses. So we've really kind of created the Instructor Toolkit out of that feedback. And also we welcome feedback. We want to know what's working for you, maybe what's not working for you, or things that you think would make the platform better. So I'm certainly always available. I know my teammates are always available to kind of discuss those things. I do want to also, as we're talking about sites, kind of look at the ways in which these sites work. So if I go to my sites, and you'll see why I say I have a number of them. So you can see the list of the many sites that I have. So I'm going to visit one of my sites, which is the Instructor Toolkit. And I just want to show you the ways in which things can be done. So if I go to themes, you'll see that I have the active theme of Poseidon, but you can see our range of themes that we have here. Faculty is a good theme for classes. Ejima is another educational theme. We have portfolio themes. We have more sort of visually putting images first themes. But I did just want to kind of cover the number of themes we have. And you can customize your site. So this is really what the backend will look like if you're going to set up a site. I have more options because I'm an administrator. But as you can see here, things are very much pick and choose. You don't need to know code to do this. Then, did you want to talk about MSU Commons Profiles?
Yes. Commons Profiles are actually one of the things that I get really excited about, because when I've tried to find information about folks professionally, and sometimes I've searched for it and it's been hard to find, or it's been in multiple places, and you do a Google search for somebody and 15 different sites come up, and some of them have been updated and some of them haven't. And I love the fact that MSU Commons allows for basically one central digitized presence that other scholars and other folks interested in the work that you do can kind of easily find you and be kept up to date on what you're doing. So it's free to all MSU students, faculty, and staff. Your profile will automatically display all of your core deposits, groups, and sites. So all of the work that you do in the Commons is in one central location. It can be used to showcase publications, projects, grants. It will appear consistently across all the Commons sites. You can link things like social media, Orchid, your personal website, and there's no programming required. Like Bonnie said, you don't need to know code to set up a lot of this stuff. You can just put it right into the Commons. We look at it as kind of a simple way to establish a digital presence without having to do a ton of extra work. And you can link to your CV in addition to social media or something like an Orchid profile. So this is just an example of a handful of places where you might have a digital presence. So if you're active on academia.edu, Orchid, LinkedIn is a big one. And then of course, MSU Commons, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. All of these are places where you could have activity. And in your Commons profile, you can link to any of these others. So it's a good kind of central source.
I think what we'd like to do is just show a little bit. I can show you what my profile looks like if I can move. So if you go over here, you can click View. And I happen to be a member of multiple Commonses. So because I'm an administrator, but you'll see up here the badge that will show which ones you belong to. So you may see a UP, you may see an MLA. Those are for people who belong to the other Commonses on the platform. You can see here I've got my name, my title, where I work. I have my Twitter account linked. I have my Orchid, and I also have my LinkedIn linked. I'm actually following a number of members. You can actually follow people and you'll get an email notification when they post a new core deposit or they post some information in a group. That can be useful if you're working with other colleagues or if they're just subjects that you're interested in. In some cases, I'm following people because I'm interested in their research. It may not be my particular area of research, but I just have a personal interest in it. So there are ways in which you can connect with people that you're simply interested in what they're doing. You can see I've got a little paragraph about who I am, my education, and the projects that I work on. Here I've got a number of links to articles that I've written, events that I've run, and then video and websites that I've built. I should note that only sections that have content will show up, and I'll show you what the editing part looks like in a minute. I've got my interests, my groups that I'm involved in, My recent activity will show up in my sites. And then I have upcoming talks and conferences and my memberships. So if I edit my profile, and you can set your profile photo and your cover image. And you can always tell it's a live demo because it takes a minute. So as you can see here, we've got a little WYSIWYG editor where you can bold and you can add links. So you don't have to know how to create an HTML link. You can just highlight the text and create a link. All of these are editable. So you see my education is here. You can choose a file and upload your CV. If I had core deposits, they would be listed here. Publications you can add. If I had a personal website that I wanted to showcase, it goes here. And you can see that these fields that I have not filled out are not showing up when you view my profile. So that's the basics of the profile.
And these are just some tips on creating a profile, things to consider, the central impression you'd like people to come away with when they view it, whether you're a dedicated educator, you're an expert in something particular like medieval food studies, or you're a specialist in technology. Have this central impression kind of in mind as you go in and decide what to include in your profile and what you want to highlight.
Any questions on profiles? Do we have anything in the chat?
Nothing new in the chat.
Rocio, did you want to ask a question? Mm-hmm.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much. I don't know if I should start my video because I don't think it's showing anyways, but I am here. I'm real, I'm here. Okay. I have an MSU Commons profile, and perhaps this is too technical, or but I have tried to solve it several times. Okay, I have an MSU Commons profile. However, I created it first when it was a Humanities Commons profile, and I was a member of the MLA. Therefore, my login is through Legacy MLA. And then with the help of Kathleen Fitzpatrick, I was able to link them, so if I log in into the MSU Commons, it appears there. However, I always have to, I cannot log in through MSU. I have to log in using the MLA Legacy. And I don't know if you can steer me or give me any link or someone to fix that, because I don't know how to log in using my MSU credentials.
So you can do that. If you go up here to settings, when you're logged into MSU Commons, you're going to go down here and you'll see current login methods. And you can actually, I can't link other login methods because I have the total of 4, which is the number allowable. But you'll see a link here that will say link another login method, and you'll be able to choose the Michigan State University single sign-on. So that's how you add a login method. If you have an issue with that, feel free. I'm at bonnie@msu.edu. Just feel free to give me a shout, and I can walk you through it. But that is
I'm sorry.
Method.
Okay, it was very quick and I didn't catch it. I go to settings. I go to settings, and then I see general, email, blocked members. Well, no.
And it's in general. So you're on general, and it's right here.
Current,
And you'll see a link. I don't have a link because I've got a maximum of 4 login methods.
Okay.
So do you see the option under your current login methods that gives you a link to link a new one?
Well, I don't see links. I see like exactly what is being shown right now. I have current memberships, HC and MSU. Then current logging methods, legacy, MLA logging. Oh, yeah, that's the only thing I have. Yeah, legacy MLA logging. Yeah, but my MSU email is registered, but it's not among the logging methods.
Right.
So that's
because you need to link it. Yep.
But it's not giving you the link to actually do so. You're seeing the text that says linking login methods is currently unavailable.
Correct. There is no active link.
Oh, okay.
Even though you only have one login method available, because the only one you're currently logging in with is the MLA legacy, right?
Yes, correct. You're right. Yeah.
Okay, that should not be. So I will reach out to you after this workshop and we'll figure this out.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, I am checking with my cursor. Nothing is active there. There's no active URL. Yeah.
Okay, we just did an update. We just rolled an update to production and it perhaps has done something to that. So I will reach out to you after this workshop and we'll set up a time to try to fix that.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And another very quick question is that I know every time we upload a publication in the core, I love this because the Commons generate a DOI, that we need for many things. But what happens when it's a publication that's or a journal article that has already its own DOI? Are they the same or are they different? I'm curious.
So what you do is you select published and you put the DOI in this field and hit retrieve.
Okay.
And it will link that DOI to the deposit.
Awesome. Yeah, those little details is so easy and I don't see them. I'm blank. Thank you very much.
You know what? It's a new system and there's a lot on this page. And so you are certainly not the first person to ask that question.
Okay.
And that's exactly what a workshop like this is for, to be able to find out what details people need to know and make sure we get them out there for you. So yeah, we appreciate the questions for sure.
Yeah.
And unless you chose published, you wouldn't see that. So perhaps we need to do a little bit better about on that page, kind of noting that if you choose published, you'll have the option to enter that DOI.
Okay, good.
So I do want to talk a little bit about kind of what's to come. There are some big changes coming and the gift from the Mellon Foundation really kind of supports this. So we're creating a top level commons that will then have Humanities Commons, Social Science Commons, and STEM Commons underneath it, along with MSU Commons and the other society commons. What that allows us to do is set up Hello Commons as a multidisciplinary area where people can create groups and sites that are devoted to projects that are kind of outside a single discipline. So if you have humanities scholars working with social science scholars, you can create a group there, you can create your site there and have that multidisciplinary discussion. The same if you're a STEM scholar working with social science or humanities. And so that will come, I'm hopeful, in first or second quarter of next year. So keep an eye out for that. We'll have a lot more messaging around that. It won't affect MSU Commons to any great extent, except that you'll have the ability within the Commons to be able to select membership in all of the disciplinary commonses that you want to have membership in. So that's what's happening with that. Future plans. So one of the things that we're working on right now is we're doing some work on the back end to support that move to the multidisciplinary commons. But once we finish that work, which we're hopeful will be by the end of the year, we're currently working on links to ORCID where you could actually pull in some information from ORCID into your profile. We're working on core embeds within WordPress sites, not just in the Commons, but in any WordPress site that you have, whether it's outside the Commons platform, the cross-disciplinary groups through the Commons Hub or Hello Commons. And then we're also working with a number of different other open access and digital platforms to try to integrate. So I think we've mentioned earlier that MSU has a Manifold instance. what we're working with the Manifold team on is the potential of being able to automatically publish from Manifold into the repository at Humanities Commons or another commons choosing. The same with Fulcrum. Vega is a platform that was originally created by the Wayne State University library system. That actually is being open sourced, and it is a multimedia supportive journal publishing program. And so again, we're looking at the potential of allowing people to publish directly into the core repository, and then Scalar is another one of those publishing platforms. We're also looking at partnering with other institutional repositories and exchanging metadata so that deposits in core will show up in other repositories when searched, and the same for their deposits. And I also should talk about, we currently feed all of the core deposits directly into Google Scholar, and we are looking at other aggregators that we may feed our metadata into. And then Cal is currently working on a digital presence and public scholarship initiative. More information will come from that later, but one of the things that we're looking to do is being able, allowing people to take their profile information from Humanities Commons and feed that to other programs as well. The last thing that I want to talk about is accessibility. One of the things that we're very serious about is ensuring that people of all abilities are able to use the Commons to be able to navigate the Commons. And so we had the MSU Usability, Accessibility Research and Consulting Group do a massive review of the site in 2019. We have already remedied a number of low-level issues, such as context issues and other issues with descriptions on images, but there are a number of issues that still need to be remedied. A full redesign of the site will begin by the end of this year and culminating in a WCAG 2.1 compliant site in 2022. That is the standard for accessibility. We're currently starting the process with getting some targeted focus groups together to talk about accessibility and usability in the Commons. And site themes with accessibility issues, so themes that are used on individual websites, will be phased out, and new themes will be added to the platform and will be vetted before launch as we add new themes and plugins to assure that they're accessible. One of the themes that we just recently added was Reykjavik. And Reykjavik is a compliant theme. So that one, if you're looking to create a website on the Commons, that is a good one that is fully accessible. But content is tricky. User uploaded content is hard to police, but guidelines for accessible content are being created and will be shared as part of the redesign. So things like ensuring that your PDF is text readable. Those are the things that we're going to try to encourage people to do, but we really can't enforce that on core upload. So at this point, Kristen, did you want to talk a little bit about the help desk?
Yeah, so this will give you our contact information. That link that says for general help goes to the main Commons support page. There's our phone number, our current hours of operation, which are Eastern time, the direct email address that will go into our inbox, which is basically the same place as the link that says submit question by a form. That'll go into the same mailbox as well. That mailbox is monitored 7 days a week during the hours that we are open by our specialists. We do our best to respond to any inquiries within 24 hours. We resolve what we can within our help desk as kind of tier 1 support. And then if something comes along that we're not able to resolve, that we need some administrator support for, we reach out to Bonnie and members of her team for extra support with that. And she's also included her email address here for specific questions. If you want to work with her directly with anything, she's always happy to do that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is if you have questions specifically about how to set up a course site or course group, if you're looking to support a specific project and you're not sure perhaps which theme might be best for the project that you're working on, or questions about digital presence, I'm always happy to answer kind of questions about the ways in which you can use your profile, or if you want to start a personal website to kind of showcase a portfolio or other work that you're doing. I'm happy to do that. So at this point, we have about 34 minutes for questions. So I'm happy to, at this point, I will open back up the MSU Commons, and we'd love to answer questions or go into further detail on anything that you'd like more detail on.
I always get nervous when there aren't a lot of questions. It either means you did a really good job instructing or a really bad job instructing, and I'm never quite sure which one it is.
Or that was a whole lot of information and people need to digest it.
Yeah, that's also true.
Well, Grant did give us an applause, so I lean towards the good.
Excellent.
And so did
So did
Rocio.
Denise and Rocio.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think the challenge teaching virtually is that you can't read the room as well. So I have trouble telling, are they not asking me questions because they're lost and overwhelmed and I need to go back and cover something more? Or are they not asking me questions because they're like, okay, cool, I got it. And that's so much harder to tell in the digital environment. We don't want people to walk away confused, especially if we have time to cover more information for you.
I think one thing, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I just wanted to comment that we as teachers feel exactly the same thing with Zoom teaching. It's very frustrating. Yeah. And the other thing is that I don't have more questions. I already have a profile, but I think a hands-on workshop will help or will probably prompt more questions, you know, when we are trying to do things. That's all. It's a comment.
Thank you. One of the things that we have considered, and I think perhaps we will set up, is a digital presence, a hands-on workshop that will work on digital presence. I did one of those with Scott Shopry this past summer with some graduate students, and it worked really well. We kind of walked people through thinking about how to create a digital presence and the things that are important to them. And so I think that perhaps we'll try to do another one specifically about digital presence with MSU Commons. We have some exercises that we can go through and kind of talk about how to really think about how to present yourself, because I think certainly as someone who strives to have a good digital presence. Obviously, if I'm involved in MSU Commons, my profile should be pretty good. Thinking about the ways in which you want to present yourself and how to communicate what it is you work on. I had a conversation with a woman who has two very separate sort of areas of research that she does. And thinking through things like that. How do I present the multifaceted nature of my work if I work on sort of different areas? She works in scholarly communications and she also works in art history. And so the ways in which that you can kind of create a presence that touches on both of those, and perhaps, you know, have a website, you know, your profile has sort of your basic information, but a website kind of showcase both areas. And so I think in that sense, digital presence is one that we would like to dive more deeply into for users who are interested in that. So one thing I do want to showcase, and we really didn't go over it, is using the core repository as a source of information. And so if you click on Find Open Access Materials, you can see here that we have browse by subject, browse by item type, browse by date. And so you can actually go in here and pull up, you know, a list of bibliography. Or you can search deposits for review. And so this is a really good way to kind of think about using core, not just as a place to deposit your own work or to develop a digital presence, but also as a resource. What you're seeing here, all deposits, these are deposits that are made across the Commons platform. So you're seeing deposits that were deposited in MLA and in Humanities Commons as well as MSU. If you want to just search MSU deposits, you can do that as well. And so you can also search by the different types. So if you want to specifically look for things like, if I can get it down here, photographs. you can actually pull up things like that. And there we go. So I did want to make sure that people knew that this is a resource as well. We are also really encouraging people to deposit their syllabi. That is something that we've worked very hard on, really kind of encouraging people, because those are active bodies of work that are sometimes crafted very, very specifically. And one of the nice things about syllabi is that you can really get a sense of, the materials that people are teaching. And sometimes you can surface things that might not be widely read, but may be important in your particular field. The other thing I'll note here, we talked about this earlier, is the content policy and the preservation policy are here under policies. We also talked about the help and support. And if you click on help and support, you will find getting started with MSU Commons, the guides and tutorials, and then the help desk information. So if you go to the home page, down here on the home page, we have the getting started. We have for instructors, which is a more deep dive into how to use it for teaching, and also for researchers. So we do have a lot of content and materials to kind of help you really use MSU Commons and all of the facets within it. So on the core repository, you can actually look, if you go into the facets, you can actually pull up syllabi. If people have tagged them properly as item type, you can actually pull up syllabi. And then you can kind of mine those through different groups or different subjects, dates, and those kinds of things. Anyone else have any questions or anything else they would like to know about? Okay. What I'll do is stop sharing so I can see everyone. Really, if there are no other questions, I'm happy to give everyone a half an hour back in their day. But thank you all for attending. I appreciate it. And if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to us.